The scandal of the year is here, and no, it doesn't involve Justin Trudeau, but our trusty Ontario Premier Doug Ford. Doug Ford favored certain developers in the controversial Greenbelt plan. This is just one of many such headlines that came out recently after the Auditor General released their report into the new passed legislation allowing changes to the Greenbelt. Hey guys, my name is Morgan Little. I'm a realtor here in the Greater Toronto Area who creates content around real estate and related topics in Ontario. If at any time you'd like to chat, feel free to use the Calendly link in the description below, and I look forward to connecting. Now, let's talk about the Greenbelt. As many are aware, near the end of 2022, Ontario's Premier Doug Ford announced Bill 23, or the More Homes Built Faster Act, which included opening up portions of the Greenbelt, long-time protected pieces of land in the Greater Toronto Area, to potential development, all in the name of creating much more needed housing. This, for obvious reasons, had a lot of people upset, and as he stated when running for his premier position, that he would not touch the Greenbelt. And right away, it all sounded a little fishy, with rumblings of misconduct about how the selected pieces of land would be chosen. Not only that, it has now come to light that allegedly, he essentially opened up certain pieces of the Greenbelt for development that would allow his developer friends to greatly profit. And I'm sure he's putting a little bit in his pocket there as well. He vehemently denies this, of course, choosing to blame a flawed system that was developed too haphazardly based on the urgency that the housing crisis had caused. Now let's take a look at the Auditor General Bonnie Lysyk's report, where she states, "We found that how the land sites were selected was not transparent, fair, objective, or fully informed. It can also be shown that there was sufficient land for the target of 1.5 million homes to be built without the need of the Greenbelt." This CBC article, entitled "How Developers Influenced the Ford Government to Open Up Their Greenbelt Land for Housing," goes on to say, one of the most stunning revelations contained in the Auditor General's explosive report into Ontario's controversial Greenbelt land swap was how a small number of real estate developers were able to use their access to a high-level government staffer to have protected land, some of which was recently purchased, opened up for housing development. Through encounters at an industry event and emails sent by their lawyers, developers successfully lobbied for the removal of environmental protections on land they own in the Greenbelt, a vast 810,000 hectare area of farmland, forest, and wetland stretching from Niagara Falls to Peterborough that's meant to be permanently off limits to development. Lysyk's report revealed decisions about which sites would be removed were made over a 3-week period in October by Housing Minister Steve Clark's Chief of Staff, Ryan Amato, and a small number of bureaucrats he directed on what's known as the Greenbelt Project Team. The process was biased in favor of certain developers and landowners who had timely access to the Housing Minister's Chief of Staff, Lysyk said at a news conference. Of the 15 sites eventually selected and opened up for housing development, 12 were chosen after specific suggestions from developers or the representatives. And apparently information packages were exchanged back and forth at industry events. One of those encounters took place on September 14th, 2022 at the Building Industry and Land Development Association's Chairs Dinner event, where Amato was seated at a table with a number of developers and lobbyists. So this wasn't some back alley deal. It looks like they weren't even trying to really hide it. In this article by Canada's National Observer, it goes on to say the provincial government's actions were driven by political influence and privileged access, according to the report, and favored specific developers while sidelining environmental, agricultural, and financial concerns. The owners of the 15 land sites removed from the Greenbelt could ultimately see their property values increase by more than $8.3 billion. But, of course, Premier Doug Ford and Housing Minister Steve Clark both told Lysyk that they were unaware that the land chosen for removal and was controlled by Amato, who appears to have been set up to be the fall guy, and there have been calls for his resignation. But he's near retirement anyway, so that probably won't accomplish much. In his response during a press conference, Ford spoke about the number of people coming to Canada and Ontario and the severe lack of housing. This is true. We do have a housing shortage, and we are nowhere near the goal of 1.5 million homes over the next 10 years. However, this development is in no way going to contribute to the existing imminent need for housing. These areas in the Greenbelt are not currently serviced with electricity, water, gas, or transit, so the time, energy, and money it'll take to implement that type of infrastructure and then develop and build will take years and maybe even decades. And look, we haven't even gotten into the environment environmental implications that these developments will have. The Canadian wetlands have been protected for a reason. They're considered the kidneys of the planet, and they have the ability to remove pollutants from the water because of their luscious vegetation and diversity of species that live there. They're also a large contributor to carbon sequestration, which helps regulate the climate. Plus a plethora of other reasons why preserving the wetlands are important and why they should continue to be protected. According to this article in the Narwhal, we have very little wetland habitat left. The more of them we lose, the more vulnerable Ontario will be to destructive flooding and worsening water quality. Wetland loss also increases the risk of permanently losing endangered species that live there and the roles such species play in maintaining the full ecosystem. And you know what? There's plenty of land available for what's called intensification. This means creating more units and available housing in areas that have existing housing and infrastructure in place, specifically areas that are close to transit corridors. This is where we need housing. This is where people are going to live when they come to Canada, not in the middle of nowhere in some wetland mansion. We need affordable housing, plain and simple, and there seems to be very little actually being done to create that. Now, there have been calls for the OPP to get involved. They've been notified of complaints, which will mean they'll have to do a review and decide if they think there's been any actual criminal activity that's been at play here, or if they or potentially the RCMP will launch an actual investigation. This is an ever-evolving debacle with many layers, so I'm sure I'll have to do a follow-up video in the near future. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on the whole thing. Please leave them in the comments below and we'll continue the discussion there. And again, if you'd like to discuss your real estate journey, do not hesitate to book a call. I look forward to chatting. Use that link below. Till then, stay well and stay hungry. Let's go.